Hey y'all, Susan with Susan's Country Living. Welcome to my kitchen and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be preserving some green tomatoes. A neighbor gifted me a lot of green tomatoes before we had a deep freeze, and I had a lot of green tomatoes on my plants, so I picked them. A lot of them are small, Juliet brand, kind of a cherry tomato, and then just some other small ones. There's a few larger ones. We're going to save those for some fried green tomatoes. But today I'm going to be making it's kind of a pickled tomato, but it's got sugar in it. And I remember eating this there were some catfish restaurants. I think it was Catfish King. I don't remember. There were several of them, and they would have this green tomato relish on the table. And it was delicious. I always remembered it as a kid eating it, and it was sweet but sour. Sometimes you get some that maybe had jalapeno in them. I'm not going to use jalapenos today in mine. I don't want a spicy one. But this is great with catfish, with pinto beans, on the top of it, or some southern peas like black eyes or lady cream peas or purple hull peas as an accompaniment with that. So we're going to make that today. So the things that you'll need, of course, is green tomatoes, apple cider vinegar, some red bell pepper. You could use green bell pepper if you wanted, but they had these at the store and they were beautiful. Some salt, some onion, any kind of onion, purple onion, white, yellow, doesn't matter. Some celery seed and some sugar. So I'm going to get these chunked up. You don't have to peel them. I've pulled the green part off as best I could, and we're going to just kind of chunk these up, not chopped fine, but in larger pieces. And probably these, I'm just going to cut them in half and do that. So I'm going to get that done, and we'll be back to put this together. Okay, I've got everything chopped up. I've got my green tomatoes. This bowl holds 3 quarts. I ended up with 5 quarts, but I'm going to start with 3 quarts of the chopped, chunked green tomatoes. I cut up 2 large red bell peppers, and this is probably 2 cups, maybe just a little bit more. I'm probably going to use about a cup of it for the 3 quarts of tomatoes. I sliced up 3 large onions. I used yellow onions, just what I had. And I cut them not in rings, but the long way. So I just like the way that holds up, I guess, in canning. So I'm probably going to use 2/3 of this in the recipe. This bowl is 2.5 quarts. Got my jars hot, and in my pot I've got 6 cups of apple cider vinegar, half a cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of salt, and 1/4 teaspoon of celery seed. I wanted to start with that. I'm bringing my vinegar, sugar, I mixed everything together. The vinegar, the sugar, the salt, the celery seed, it's all mixed together. I'm waiting for that to come to a boil. And I'm going to put in my vegetables and bring it back to a boil and simmer 5 minutes, and then jar it up. We're going to leave, just about an inch headspace, maybe 3/4 of an inch headspace. And then I use a steam canner. You can use a water bath canner. And then we're going to process that for 15 minutes. I've got I smelled something go off. I have my canning jar lids in water, hot water. I know if you buy the ball, the cur, they say you don't have to do that, but I use the 4 jars lids, and they recommend putting them in hot water. I have really great success with them. The sealing compound is really thick and heavy, and it really the only time I've had Something not seal is something was on the rim. When I took it off, it didn't seal, and so I looked at it, and that was the case. I've never had one fail in my pantry, so they give a really, really good seal, and I like them. They don't sponsor me or anything, but when I find something that works and I really like, I like to share it with y'all. So this is boiling now. Good. I've got 8 pints in my canner. That's what it holds. I'm just going to see what this does, and I'm writing things down as I go. And it looks like we're ready. So I'm going to put my 3 quarts in here. And if I find that I don't have enough liquid, I'll go ahead and jar up, and I'll make some more liquid and just run a second batch. So there's my 3 quarts of that. I'm going to kind of mound up my bell pepper because I'm using about 2/3 of it. I'm going to put my bell pepper in there. I guess you could use green bell pepper if that's what you had. I just happen to have some of that. And then I'm going to use about 2/3 of these onions. If I think I need more, I'll just add a little more. But I'm going to save that for the other. And we're going to mix this up. And I'm going to turn my fire up. And when this comes to a boil, I'm going to simmer 5 minutes. You don't want your tomatoes to cook too much and be too soft. You want some firmness. Put my lid on it so it comes a little quicker. And we'll be jarring it up after simmering 5 minutes. I'll show you what that looks like. It's not quite boiling yet, but you can see that they cooked down just a little bit. Released probably some water. But right over here, you might see some churning of the liquid. You want to be sure that you have your tools, your measurer for your headspace. This also helps to debubble, a little magnet to get the lids out of the water. And I like to debubble with a chopstick, so I've had that sitting in the water. Also having things, slotted spoons to drain, and then ladles and funnels. There's our 5 minutes. Cut that off, and we're going to get it jarred up. And have some paper towel or a clean towel to wipe your rims. So let's get this going here. Okay, so I've got my jars filled. It did 7 pints and then just a little bit of another one, which we'll just keep that and stick it in the fridge. But I'm going to go ahead and add the liquid now, up to about a 3/4 inch headspace. The tomatoes are at about a 1 inch headspace. And we'll debubble them after I get these filled. Now the last batch of sliced green tomatoes I did for frying, there was a little something on the rim. I'm just going to make sure there's no onion, because that onion skin sometimes can be really, really thin, up like right there. And that would have ruined the seal hanging over the edge like that. All right, so we're going to take some of our vinegar on a cloth, and we're just going to go around, get that really clean. I'm going to grab a lid. Just finger tight. And I'm just going to set it over here until I get ready to load my steam canner. But put it in the fridge. It will seal, even though the headspace is not correct, but I'm going to stick it in the fridge because I just want to see what the texture is. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in there, and I'll know which one it is because there's not much in there. For 15 minutes, once the temperature comes up to where it needs to be. From my altitude, which is pretty much sea level, or maybe just a few feet above. So it shows right now that it's the temperature, but it will come down a little bit. So, and then we'll start it for 15 minutes. Okay, so our 15 minutes is up, and I've taken the lid off, and I'm going to let them just kind of sit right here for about 5 minutes, and I'm going to move them to my board with a cloth on it to let them cool and seal, because I don't see that any of them have sealed popped yet. Usually when I take them out and put them and move them, they start sealing. So so if you find yourself with a lot of green tomatoes, you might try making this. It's like a green tomato relish, but it's more chunky. I call them those pickled tomatoes at the catfish place. That's what I call them. So we're going to enjoy these and give some to my neighbor who provided me with all these beautiful green tomatoes. Hope that you're having a good winter. I know it's January. I'm following that collaboration on YouTube, and so check them out. I'm learning a lot, and about even getting some new recipes. I even ordered me that ball book. All I have is the ball blue book that's 30 years old. So there's so many new recipes that they have put out. So I went ahead and I found one that was used on eBay that someone was selling, and purchased it, and it's in the mail, and hopefully it will be here soon. So I'm anxious to try some new recipes and bring them here to my YouTube channel for y'all to try. Bye, y'all.